Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Jackson was 23 and needed money. The ad for the sleep study looked like an easy way to get cash. It paid $5,000 for a week of sleep at the university's medical research building. The consent forms were long and used hard words about brainwave tests and new treatments for sleep problems. "Just put your initials here, here, and sign at the bottom," said the research assistant. She wore a white lab coat. Her blonde hair was in a tight bun. Her name tag said Dr. Martinez. Jackson signed the forms. His brown hair fell into his eyes as he leaned over. He pushed his hair back. It was always too long, but he never cut it. "Perfect. Let me show you your room," Dr. Martinez said. Her heels made clicking sounds on the shiny floor. The building looked more like a hotel than a hospital. The walls were light blue. There were paintings of nature and even a small kitchen in each room. The bed was the biggest thing in the room. It was surrounded by screens and other equipment. "This will track your brain waves throughout the night." Dr. Martinez held up what looked like a swimming cap covered in electrodes. "We're testing a new frequency modulation technique. Completely painless, though some participants report vivid dreams." "What kind of dreams?" "Nothing to worry about. Just more intense than usual. The bathroom is through there, and we'll bring meals 3 times a day." "Any questions?" Jackson shook his head. For $5,000, he could handle some weird dreams. That first night, the electrodes felt strange against his scalp. The soft beeping of machines created a rhythmic backdrop as drowsiness overtook him. The last thing he remembered was Dr. Martinez adjusting something on one of the monitors, her brow furrowed in concentration. The dreams came in waves. Not dreams exactly, more like sensations. Warmth spreading through every cell, bones shifting like clay being molded by invisible hands. His body felt liquid, transforming, reshaping itself according to some unknown blueprint. Through it all, a persistent humming, not from the machines but from somewhere deeper, somewhere inside. Morning arrived like surfacing from deep water. Everything felt wrong. The weight distribution of his body had changed. His chest felt heavy, sensitive. Sitting up triggered a cascade of foreign sensations, hair much longer than before cascading past his shoulders, the absence of familiar anatomy between his legs, the presence of new curves and contours. "What the hell?" The voice that emerged was higher, softer, feminine. Stumbling to the bathroom mirror confirmed the impossible. The face staring back shared his features but feminized. Softer jawline, fuller lips, larger eyes. The brown hair now reached past his shoulders, silky and thick. The body beneath the hospital gown had transformed completely. Breasts rose and fell with each panicked breath. Hips flared where they'd been narrow. Everything had changed. The emergency button beside the bed nearly broke under frantic pressing. Dr. Martinez arrived within minutes, her face draining of color as she took in the transformation. "This isn't possible." She pulled out her phone, barking orders. "Get Dr. Chen here now, and Dr. Russo. Clear the morning schedule." "What did you do to me?" The new voice cracked with emotion. "Please, try to stay calm. We need to run tests, figure out what happened." "Figure out what happened? Look at me." More researchers flooded the room. Blood draws, scans, endless questions. Hours blurred together in a haze of medical jargon and barely concealed panic from the staff. Through it all, the reality of the transformation became undeniable. This wasn't a dream or hallucination. The body was real, completely female in every way. Dr. Chen, an older man with silver temples, finally sat down across from the hospital bed, his hands folded and unfolded repeatedly. "The frequency modulation we used, it appears to have triggered something unprecedented. The brain waves we generated seem to have activated dormant genetic sequences, causing a complete biological transformation." "Can you reverse it?" The silence stretched too long. Dr. Chen's eyes wouldn't meet hers. "The changes appear to be permanent. Every cell in your body has been rewritten at a genetic level. I'm so sorry. This was never supposed to be possible." The room spun. Permanent. The word echoed like a bell tolling. I need some time alone." After the researchers filed out, she stood before the mirror again. The reflection was beautiful in an objective way. High cheekbones, delicate features, an hourglass figure. But it wasn't her. Or was it? The brown hair felt natural between her fingers, silky and familiar despite its new length. A knock interrupted the spiral of thoughts. Dr. Martinez entered carrying a small suitcase. "I thought you might need these." "They're mine, but we're about the same size now." Inside lay carefully folded clothes. Real clothes, not hospital gowns. A navy blue sheath dress caught her eye, simple but elegant. There were undergarments too, and a pair of low heels. "Thank you." The words came out small. What will you do?" The question hung in the air. What could she do? Sue them? Spend years in court trying to reverse something that couldn't be reversed? Hide away and mourn a body that no longer existed? "I don't know." Dr. Martinez left the suitcase and retreated. The dress felt strange, but right as she pulled it on, it fit perfectly, the navy blue complementing her pale skin. The shoes took a moment to figure out, but muscle memory seemed to adapt quickly. When she looked in the mirror again, a complete woman stared back. The name came unbidden. Ivy. It felt right, natural even. Jackson was gone, had been erased by whatever those machines had done, but Ivy could move forward. A pearl necklace in the suitcase completed the outfit. The woman in the mirror looked professional, put together, normal, the type of woman who might work in an office or teach at a school, not someone who had been male just hours before. Dr. Chen returned with a stack of papers, legal documents, medical reports, options for moving forward. They'd already started the process of updating identification, reaching out to lawyers about quietly settling any potential lawsuit. "We'll provide full financial support for your transition. New documents, housing assistance, whatever you need." Transition. Ivy tested the word. "I suppose that's what this is. We understand if you want to pursue legal action. What happened is unprecedented, unforgivable." The papers spread across the bed. Lawsuit options, settlement figures, non-disclosure agreements. A whole life reduced to legal terminology and dollar amounts. What would a lawsuit accomplish? Can you give me my old body back? No? Then what's the point? Ivy smoothed the navy dress, feeling the fabric under unfamiliar fingers. "I need to figure out how to live like this, not spend years in court fighting for something that can't be fixed." The transformation had been complete, absolute. Every medical test confirmed it. Chromosomes rewritten, bone structure reshaped, even fingerprints slightly altered. The person who had walked into this facility no longer existed on a biological level. Days passed in a blur of adjustments. Learning to walk in heels became second nature surprisingly quickly. The research team provided a whole wardrobe, dresses, blouses, skirts, all in various shades that complemented her coloring. She found herself gravitating toward the navy blue dress, something about it feeling like armor against the strangeness of it all. The first venture outside the facility came a week after the transformation. Dr. Martinez accompanied her, ostensibly for support, but probably to ensure she didn't flee to the nearest news station. The world looked the same, but felt entirely different. Men held doors open. Women smiled at her in the coffee shop bathroom. She existed in a completely different social category now. "How does it feel?" Dr. Martinez asked over lattes. "Like wearing a costume that I can't take off." Ivy traced the rim of her cup. "Except it's not a costume. This is just me now." The brain scans show remarkable adaptation. Your neural pathways are rewiring themselves to match your new biology. Is that supposed to be comforting? I don't know, maybe? The laugh that bubbled up surprised them both. Here she sat, permanently transformed by a medical accident, having coffee like it was any normal Tuesday. The absurdity of it all suddenly seemed almost funny. "I should hate you all." Ivy took a sip of her latte. "Part of me does. But what good would that do? I can't spend the rest of my life being angry about something that can't be changed." The facility became a strange sort of home over the following weeks. The researchers, racked with guilt, bent over backward to help her adjust. Voice coaches helped modulate her speech patterns. Movement specialists taught her the subtle differences in how women carried themselves. It was like learning to be human all over again. The legal team presented option after option. They could create an entirely new identity, complete with a fabricated history. They could help her relocate anywhere in the world. The settlement they offered was substantial enough to never work again if she chose. I don't want to run away. Ivy sat in the conference room, the navy dress and pearls becoming her daily uniform. I had a life here. Friends, a job, an apartment. I want to keep as much of that as possible. That could be complicated. The lead lawyer shifted uncomfortably. How do you explain such a dramatic change? Tell them the truth. Medical treatment with unexpected side effects. Let people draw their own conclusions. The first phone call to her best friend Marcus took 3 attempts to dial. Her hands shook as the phone rang. Jackson? Where the hell have you been? You disappeared for like 2 weeks. Marcus, something happened. I need to tell you something. You sound weird. Are you sick? Can we meet? It's better to explain in person. The coffee shop where they always met felt simultaneously familiar and foreign. Marcus was already there, scrolling through his phone at their usual corner table. He looked up as she approached, confusion clear on his face. Excuse me, that seat's taken. I'm waiting for someone. Marcus, it's me. The progression of emotions across his face would have been funny if it weren't so serious. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, shock. What the, Jackson? It's Ivy now. She sat down, smoothing the navy dress. I know this is a lot. A lot? Dude, you look like... You're... Female. Yes, completely. The explanation took time. Marcus listened, jaw slack, occasionally interjecting with confused questions. The medical study, the transformation, the permanence of it all. His coffee grew cold as she spoke. So you're stuck like this? It's not stuck. This is just who I am now. But you're not... I mean, inside you're still... I don't know what I am inside anymore. Ivy touched the pearls at her throat, a gesture that already felt natural. The brain scans show my neural chemistry changing to match my body. Every day I feel less like I'm wearing a costume and more like this is just... me. Marcus struggled with pronouns at first, years of friendship hard to overwrite, but he tried, and that mattered more than getting it right immediately. Word spread gradually through her social circle. Some friends adapted quickly, others drifted away, unable to reconcile the change. Her employer, a small marketing firm, agreed to update her records after a long meeting with HR and the legal documentation from the research facility. The first day back at work felt like stepping on stage. The navy dress and pearls had become armor by then, a professional facade to hide behind. Coworkers stared, whispered, but professionalism won out. Within a month, it was just the new normal. Ivy, who used to be Jackson, a medical miracle that everyone politely avoided discussing in detail. Dating seemed impossible to consider at first. The body was female, but the experience was not. How could she explain to anyone the reality of her situation? But loneliness crept in as months passed. The research facility offered to connect her with therapists who specialized in unique cases, but talking about feelings didn't change the fundamental need for human connection. The first date came 6 months after the transformation. A man from a different department at work, someone who'd only known her as Ivy. David was kind, funny, uncomplicated. Over dinner, she found herself laughing genuinely for the first time in months. You seem nervous. He smiled over wine glasses. First date jitters. Not a lie, even if the reasons were more complex than he could imagine. The goodnight kiss was soft, tentative. Her body responded in ways that felt foreign but not unwelcome. Another adaptation, another piece of the old self falling away. 3 dates in, the conversation couldn't be avoided any longer. There's something I need to tell you about my past. Ivy set down her fork, the navy dress suddenly feeling too tight. David listened without interrupting as she explained. Not every detail, but enough. The medical study, the transformation, the life before. His expression cycled through the same shock Marcus had shown, but something else too. consideration. That's a lot to process. I understand if it's too much. No, give me a minute. He took a long drink of water. So you've only been living as a woman for 6 months? 7 now? And before that you were… Male, yes. But now you're not. Completely not. Every cell in my body is female. The researchers confirmed it multiple times. David nodded slowly. I have about 1,000 questions. Ask them. They talked until the restaurant closed around them. He was curious but not cruel, trying to understand rather than judge. When he walked her home, the kiss goodnight lasted longer. I'd like to see you again. He held her hand. If that's okay. I'd like that too. The relationship progressed slowly. David researched on his own, educated himself about unique medical cases and transformation. He never treated her as less than any other woman, never made her feel like an experiment or curiosity. When they made love for the first time 3 months later, it felt natural, right? Another barrier crossed, another part of the old life left behind. A year after the transformation, Ivy stood in front of the mirror in her apartment. The navy dress hung in the closet among dozens of other outfits now, no longer armor, but just another clothing option. Her brown hair fell in waves past her shoulders, styled and cared for like second nature. The woman in the reflection was simply her, no longer a stranger or imposter. The research facility still monitored her health, monthly checkups to ensure no complications arose. Dr. Martinez had become something like a friend, their coffee meetings shifting from medical necessity to genuine companionship. Any regrets? Dr. Martinez asked during one such meeting. About not suing? No. What would I have gained? Money I don't need, and years of my life spent in court. About any of it? Ivy considered the question. The transformation had been involuntary, traumatic, life-altering in ways she was still discovering. But the life she'd built since then was real, fulfilling in ways she hadn't expected. I can't regret something I had no control over. I can only control how I respond to it. The wedding came 2 years later. David proposed on a beach vacation, sunset turning the ocean gold. The ring caught the light as he slipped it onto her finger. Her parents, after their own long adjustment period, walked her down the aisle. She wore white, not navy, but kept the pearl necklace as her something borrowed from Dr. Martinez. Marcus gave a speech at the reception that brought tears and laughter in equal measure. He talked about friendship transcending any physical form, about the person inside remaining constant, even as everything else changed. He still slipped up on pronouns occasionally when drinking, but the effort mattered more than perfection. The research facility published papers on her case, anonymized but groundbreaking. The technology was immediately banned pending further study, the risks too great to attempt replication. She became a medical mystery, the only documented case of complete biological transformation triggered by brainwave manipulation. Sometimes, late at night, Ivy wondered about the path not taken. If she'd fought harder, demanded answers, spent years trying to reverse the irreversible. But those thoughts faded with morning light. The life she'd built was too real, too precious to waste on what-ifs. 5 years after that night in the sleep lab, she sat in a different doctor's office. The test results spread across the desk between them. Congratulations! Everything looks perfectly healthy. Ivy's hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. Pregnant. Another impossibility made real by that strange transformation. David squeezed her other hand, his excitement barely contained. The child would never know her as anything other than their mother. The story of the transformation would be family history, strange but distant. Just another piece of the past that led to their present. Walking out of the doctor's office, Ivy caught her reflection in a window. Brown hair shining in the sunlight, the face now as familiar as breathing. The woman she'd become through accident and adaptation, choice and acceptance. Not the life she'd planned, but the life she'd claimed as her own. The pearl necklace caught the light as she turned away, heading home to share the news with the world she'd built from the ashes of transformation. Some changes couldn't be reversed. Sometimes that was exactly as it should be. The nursery took shape over the following months. David painted the walls soft yellow while Ivy assembled furniture, her movements careful as her body changed once again. This transformation was natural, expected, but no less profound, life growing inside the body that had itself been transformed. Dr. Martinez visited often, fascinated by the pregnancy's progression. The research team monitored everything, ensuring no complications arose from Ivy's unique biology. But every test came back normal. The body that had been rewritten at a cellular level functioned perfectly in its new configuration. It's remarkable. Dr. Martinez reviewed the latest ultrasound. Your body shows no signs of its original state. Even at this deep biological level, the transformation holds complete. She's kicking. Ivy guided Dr. Martinez's hand to her swollen belly. Feel that? The baby arrived on a spring morning, healthy and screaming. David cried harder than their daughter, overwhelmed by the moment. Ivy held the tiny life, marveling at what her transformed body had created. Another impossibility made real. They named her Emma after David's grandmother. She had his eyes but Ivy's nose, a perfect blend of both parents. The nurses cooed over the baby, none of them knowing the remarkable story of her mother's biology. Marcus visited the hospital, bringing an enormous stuffed elephant. Can't believe you're a mom. He shook his head. Seems like yesterday we were playing video games in your crappy apartment. That was another lifetime. Ivy adjusted Emma's blanket, the motion already instinctive. Yeah, I guess it was. Parenthood brought new challenges and joys. Emma grew quickly, hitting every milestone with enthusiasm. Her first word was mama, directed at Ivy with a drooly smile. The park became their second home, Emma toddling after ducks while Ivy watched from a bench. Other mothers gravitated toward her, sharing stories and advice. She belonged to this community completely, without asterisks or explanations. Just another mom navigating the chaos of raising a child. The research facility finally closed her case file when Emma turned 3. A decade of monitoring showed no signs of deterioration or complication. The transformation remained complete and stable. Dr. Martinez hugged her at their final official appointment. Thank you for trusting us after everything, for not letting anger consume your life. Anger would have stolen the life I've built. Ivy watched Emma color in the waiting room. I couldn't let it. The sleep study had destroyed one life but created another. Not by choice, but choice came in how she responded. Every decision since that morning had led here, to a husband who loved her, a daughter who needed her, a life rich with purpose. Emma started school, bright and curious about everything. Parent-teacher conferences, school plays, soccer games. Ivy immersed herself in the rhythm of motherhood. The navy dress still hung in her closet, pulled out occasionally for work events, but yoga pants and comfortable sweaters became the new daily uniform. Mommy, why do you have so many doctor pictures? Emma found the medical journals while helping clean the home office. Mommy helped with some important research once. Ivy closed the journals, storing them back on the high shelf. Were you sick? Something like that. But I'm all better now. The simplification satisfied Emma's 5-year-old curiosity. Someday, Ivy would tell her the whole story, when she was old enough to understand. For now, she was just Mommy, the woman who kissed scraped knees and read bedtime stories. David got promoted, requiring a move across the country. Ivy felt relief at the fresh start. New neighbors who would only ever know her as herself, no whispered history or lingering questions. The moving truck pulled away from the life they'd built, heading toward another beginning. The new house had a big backyard, perfect for the swing set David assembled while cursing at the instructions. Emma shrieked with joy, pumping her legs to go higher. Ivy watched from the deck, iced tea sweating in her hand. Mommy, push me! She set down the glass and joined her daughter. The brown hair, now shorter in a practical mom cut, bounced as she ran. Her body moved without thought, completely integrated with her sense of self. The transformation was ancient history, buried under years of lived experience. The new neighbors welcomed them warmly. Barbara from next door brought cookies, staying to chat about the local schools. Her husband Tom offered to help with any house repairs. Normal suburban interactions with no undercurrent of curiosity or confusion. You have such beautiful hair. Barbara touched her own gray strands. That brown color is so rich. Thank you. I've always been lucky with my hair. Not a lie. The hair that had grown long during that first transformative night remained healthy and strong a decade later. One constant through all the changes. Emma made friends quickly at her new school. Playdates and birthday parties filled their weekends. Ivy became the mom who always volunteered to chaperone field trips, who brought homemade cupcakes to class parties. The other parents accepted her readily into their circles. David traveled more with his new position. Those nights, Ivy and Emma had girl time, painting nails, braiding hair, watching princess movies. The irony wasn't lost on her, but the joy was real. This was her authentic life now, not a performance or pretense. Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Emma snuggled closer during a movie. What do you like about Mommy? You're pretty and smart, and you give the best hugs. Ivy pulled her daughter closer, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. These moments made every struggle worthwhile. The person she'd become through accident had grown into someone worth emulating. The call came on a Tuesday. Dr. Martinez's voice sounded older, tired. I wanted you to know, we've identified the specific frequency combination that caused your transformation. It's been classified and locked away. No one will ever experience what you did again. That's good. Ivy watched Emma play in the yard through the window. No one should go through that without choosing it. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like? Sometimes, but not often anymore. This is my life. Everything else is just speculation. They talked for a few more minutes before saying goodbye. Likely their last conversation, a final closing of that chapter. Ivy hung up and returned to making dinner, the past receding further into memory. Emma grew taller, her questions more complex. The conversation about the transformation came in pieces over years, age-appropriate revelations that built toward the full truth. By 13, she knew the basic facts, that Mommy had undergone a medical treatment that changed her body permanently. So you used to be a boy? Emma processed this over hot chocolate. My body was male, yes, but I've been female your entire life. I'm the only mother you've ever known. That's kind of cool, like you're extra special. Everyone's special in their own way. Yeah, but you're like scientifically special. The teenage years brought new challenges. Emma's mood swings and identity exploration triggered memories of Ivy's own radical transformation. But she'd changed in a moment. Emma evolved gradually, finding herself through normal adolescent trial and error. High school meant dating drama and college preparations. Ivy helped with homework she barely understood, drove to endless activities, weathered the storms of teenage emotion. David joked that she had more patience than him, better suited to navigate Emma's tempests. It's because I remember what it's like to not know who you are. Ivy folded laundry while David loaded the dishwasher. To have your sense of self completely shaken. You came through it pretty well. I had to. The alternative was letting it destroy me. College acceptance letters arrived in spring. Emma chose a school across the country, eager for adventure. The summer flew by in preparations and quality time. Ivy found herself touching the pearl necklace more often, nervous energy needing outlet. You okay, Mom? Emma caught the gesture while they shopped for dorm supplies. Just thinking about how fast time goes. Don't get all weepy on me in Target. But tears came anyway when they dropped Emma at her dorm. 18 years of motherhood suddenly paused, the house too quiet without her daughter's presence. David held Ivy as she cried that night, mourning the passage of time. She'll be back for Thanksgiving. I know, it's just, being her mother has been my identity for so long. You're still her mother, just long distance now. The empty nest phase required another adjustment. Ivy returned to work full-time, her marketing skills rusty but recoverable. The navy dress came out of retirement, updated with modern accessories. Professional Ivy emerged again, older but confident. Co-workers at the new firm knew nothing of her history. She was just another middle-aged woman returning to the workforce after raising children. The normalcy felt like a gift, hard-won through years of living authentically. Emma called weekly, sharing college adventures and asking advice. Boys, classes, roommate drama, all the typical concerns of a young woman finding her way. Ivy listened and guided, grateful for the maintained connection. "I told my women's studies class about you." Emma's voice crackled through the phone. "About your transformation. The professor wants to know if you'd speak to the class." "I don't know, honey. It's been so long since I've talked about it publicly." "You don't have to, but I think your story is important, about resilience and adapting to change." Ivy considered it. The story felt distant now, something that happened to another person in another life. But maybe that distance could help others facing their own transformations, medical or otherwise. Let me think about it. The lecture happened over video call, technology bridging the distance. 30 young faces stared from Emma's laptop screen as Ivy told her story for the first time in years. The questions afterward showed thoughtfulness and respect. "How did you maintain your sense of self through such a radical change?" "I didn't." Ivy touched the pearls, still wearing them after all these years. "I had to build a new sense of self. The person I was ceased to exist on a fundamental level. I could either mourn that forever or create something new." "Do you consider yourself transgender?" "Labels are complicated. My transformation was involuntary, medical rather than psychological. But I live as a woman, fully and completely. Make of that what you will." The students applauded when she finished. Emma beamed with pride, her mother's story now part of her academic experience. Another bridge between past and present, trauma transformed into teaching. Years continued their steady march. Emma graduated, started her career, fell in love. Ivy and David settled into comfortable middle age, their marriage strengthened by weathering extraordinary circumstances. The research facility sent annual Christmas cards. Dr. Martinez's handwriting increasingly shaky. The wedding invitation arrived on a spring day. Emma getting married to a wonderful man named Robert she'd met at work. Ivy cried reading it, remembering the tiny baby who'd grown into this accomplished woman. "You'll need a mother of the bride dress," David read over her shoulder. "Not navy." Ivy laughed through tears. "Maybe green?" The wedding was perfect. Emma, radiant in white, Robert handsome and nervous. Ivy sat in the front row, tissues at ready. During the mother-daughter dance, Emma whispered in her ear, "Thank you for showing me how to be strong. You were always strong, I just showed you it was okay to be." Dr. Martinez attended, elderly now but still sharp. She hugged Ivy during the reception, marveling at the life that had grown from that accidental transformation. "No regrets?" The old question, asked one more time. How could I regret the path that led to this? The reception swirled with joy and music. Marcus made another speech, his hair gray now, but humor intact. He told stories of Ivy's early days of transformation, the comedy found in retrospect. The wedding guests laughed, not knowing the full truth, but appreciating the sentiment. David pulled her onto the dance floor as the night wound down. They swayed together, comfortable in their rhythm after decades of practice. The brown hair, now showing silver at the temples, brushed his shoulder. Happy? Beyond words. The transformation had taken one life and created another. Not by choice, but by accident, a confluence of science and circumstance that couldn't be replicated. But the life built from that accident was chosen every single day. Each decision to move forward rather than backward, to embrace rather than resist, to love rather than hate. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.